Меня не видно, да? Только он. Если сама себе не понравится.
Srimate Bhaktivedanta Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravai What are you doing here? Come in. It's so rare to see you outside of Guru Puja.
Так редко вас видите вне Гуру Пуджи.
Before we begin, I'd like to ask a question. Does anyone know what that question will be?
До того, как мы начнем, хочу задать вопрос. Кто-то знает, о чем вопрос?
Do you know?
Кто был на Мангаларте?
Кто был на Мангаларте?
Intelligent woman.
Разумная жизненная девушка.
Who went to Mangalarti?
Кто был на Мангаларте?
Something of this. No, video doesn't count.
Janas Prabhu cannot come. No.
Huh?
He cannot go. He looking on.
No, that doesn't count.
Не считает.
Dr. Maharaj, he can watch on the video.
Так Марадж может.
He got 2 legs
А он
and his assistant.
и вы всегда должны приходить.
If I can do it, I'm older than you.
Я же старше
You
тебя.
go.
Ты должен.
If I can go,
Если
you
я
can
могу,
go.
ты тоже можешь.
What was the answer?
А какой ответ был?
What was the what?
The question was who went to Mangalore today?
You said you watched it on video.
Вы сказали, что вы смотрели на видео.
Is that what you said?
Это то, что вы сказали.
Doesn't count.
Не считается.
Huh?
Half.
The endeavor.
Половинку
It's the
считается.
endeavor.
Главное усилие.
Getting up, bathing, tilak, going down the stairs, walking along the road, seeing the deity 3D. It's the endeavor
Это же усилие нам предложено.
is half.
Это половинка, ладно.
The seeing doesn't really matter because we don't know what we're
Увидеть
looking
не
at
важно, что
anyway.
мы там увидим, ну что там, ничего мы не видим.
And like Prabhupada said,
Как Шрила Прабхупада говорит,
it's not for
это
you
не
to see the deity,
не для того,
it's
чтобы
for
вы
the
видели
deity
божество,
to
это
see
чтобы
you.
божество вас видели, когда вы приходите.
Right?
Правильно? Да.
So, okay. I have to talk something about Calcutta.
Я хочу что-то про
If you think of anything about Calcutta Temple,
Что-то мне напомнить, если что.
you're more than welcome to.
Говори тоже, пожалуйста.
Calcutta Temple, 1972.
72 год.
Actually, we flew from
Мы прилетели
Nairobi
из Найроби
to Bombay.
в Бомбей.
Then there was the whole, I'll tell you a nice story.
Хорошая
You
история.
probably heard this before.
Наверное, слышали ее.
In Nairobi, the night before we were leaving,
В Найроби за
it was
ночь.
Diwali Eve.
Это был Дивали,
Next day was Diwali.
то есть вечером.
So
На следующий день был
we
Дивали.
were sitting, there was Brahmananda,
Мы были с Браманандой,
Shava Sundar,
Сундаром
and me,
и
and Prabhupada, sitting with Prabhupada.
сидели с Прабхупадой.
And somehow,
И как-то
I think it was Shava Sundar brought up the topic of movies.
Сундар заговорила о кино, кинофильмах.
And Prabhupada said, oh, I will make a movie.
Я бы сделала кино.
And that movie, he said,
И он сказал,
we'll make a movie of the Mahabharata.
сделаем кино о Махабхарате.
He said it will be 18 days long.
19 дней будет длиться эта сериал.
One day for every day of the
Каждый
battle of
день
Kurukshetra.
для каждого дня битвы на Курукшетре.
Then he looked at
Потом посмотрел
Brahmananda
на Брамананду.
and he said, Brahmananda will be Bhima.
Будет Бхима.
And he said, Shyama Sundar, you will be Arjun.
Джуна.
I immediately became jealous.
Почему? А я тогда...
And I said, and Gargamuni, I don't know if you know, Brahmananda's brother,
Брат.
like this, he will be the crooked-minded Uncle Sakuni.
Умный дядя Шакуни.
I said, Prabhupada, what am I?
Прабхупада, а я кто?
Who am I going to be? He said, you will be my assistant. He said, I will direct every
Помощником.
scene.
Я буду каждую сцену, руководить каждой сценой.
Next day we left for
Следующий день мы
Bombay,
летели в Бомбей.
and then we're going to go on to Calcutta.
Поехали в Калькутту.
In Bombay, the temple was in an apartment in a high-rise on the Arabian Sea. Out, nice. It was called the Akash Ganga, big apartment house.
Акаша Ганга, большой такой дом, да.
And the day, so we all settled in there, and the next day we were flying to Calcutta.
Полетели в Калькутту.
There was a pandal
Там был пентал,
at Deshapriya Park in
Дешаприя парк.
Calcutta. Do you know Deshapriya
Вы
Park?
знаете Дешаприя?
Are you Bengali? Now, how do you know this?
Как ты знаешь?
South Calcutta.
I visited.
Huh?
I visited
Я
Oh,
там
you
был,
listen.
посещал.
Why?
Вот зачем?
with ISKCON Kolkata devotees just
Преданность
Prabhupada
Калькутты.
were related
Мы
places.
по местам Прабхупады ездили. Посетили.
You were there also
Ты что там был?
with him?
I went with
Я
Janus.
ездил. А ты что там делал? Дешаприя парк?
It's now because
Как сейчас или раньше?
yeah, recently we were with Dayaram Prabhu visiting different places. Dayaram
Мы ездили с Дайрамом
Some years ago.
несколько лет назад.
last year.
В прошлом году.
Anyway, there was a pandal at Deshapriya Park. But that day, Shyama took me out to see Bombay. And we were down by the big railroad station. What is it called? Do you know?
Shelter.
No, in Bombay.
Бомбей.
Big one right in the middle.
Chhatrapati Shivaji.
Huh?
Chhatrapati Shivaji terminus.
But what was it called before?
Как раньше называлось это?
Under the British. That had happened. Anyway, we're there. And he wanted me to have this sugarcane juice.
Пробовал этот сок.
I didn't like the looks of it, you know, the big machine and all the flies.
Там всякие мухи около этих.
No, you have to, Bhavananda, you have to, it's really So I had it, within an hour I had dysentery. So I couldn't get on the flight to, with Prabhupada to Calcutta. Of course they left without me, someone else took the ticket and off they went. But the next day I was feeling better and I got a train and I went across from Bombay to Calcutta by train with Malati and her daughter Saraswati. And that was wonderful. The train is really nice in India. At least it was. Prabhupada liked traveling by train. We went all across India, all through Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh. We arrived at Howrah station. Howrah station. And we take a rickshaw. It's like a dream. It's like a movie. It's surreal. Here's Malati and Saraswati and I in a rickshaw being pulled by a human being. The big wheels and the guy running. He runs up the runs across Howrah Bridge. And I'm looking around. This is India, Calcutta. Now it's some exotic location being pulled in a rickshaw, like in real life. And then you come down off the Howrah Bridge and you go through North Calcutta. North Calcutta, under the British, was where all the Indians lived. pretty much. And it was fantastic. Oh, shop after shop, just right on the street. With big bags of chilies and big bags of yellow turmeric and spices and above an old apartment, British, old Indian kind of British apartment houses with saris hanging down and laundry across the road and people coming and going. And the smell of spices and fruit and so much opulence, really, opulence. And all people doing business. And then we went up Chowrangi and then into South Calcutta, or what was known as the side quarter, or the British. And then all the buildings. This is a time, 1971, in India. They had only had freedom for what? 24 years, 22 years, right? 47, 48? 47. So 24 years. And a lot of the old British mansions were there. It was beautiful. And there was very little traffic. Do you remember? Were you here those days? 71, 70? Huh?
From the ambassador.
The only car was an ambassador. The Birla family made a deal with Indira Gandhi. You can't import any cars. We'll make our own car. It's called an ambassador. But there weren't very many. There were a lot of rickshaws. But it wasn't like today with beautiful mansions with columns and porches and gardens like this with green grass and pots of marigolds. Nice. Anyway, we arrive at Albert Road, which was a 4-apartment building with columns and a veranda, 1 apartment on each, and 1 apartment each on top. And a big veranda, bigger I think than this veranda, with black and white marble, but it was British style, colonial. Prabhupada had his room. I went in, I saw Prabhupada, and Tamal was there, Jamuna was there, Guru Das was there, Shamasundar was there, everyone was there. Jagpataka Maharaj was there, Chitananda. And from the veranda, if you've ever been there, right across the street is a big tank, pukur. So it was very nice, very colonial, Southeast Asia, very, kind of like Raffles Hotel in Singapore, in the old days. So someone had given Jagpataka and Achyutananda an old, like a 1957 Dodge, American car, Dodge, green and white. And so that night, Prabhupada was going to the Pandal, so I went with him. I kind of got in the car, snuck in. And we drove to the Pandal and looked all around. Everything is new and wonderful. India, it's India. Which I had always wanted to, go to India since I was a child. Because when I was a child in the schools in New York area, Standard Oil of New Jersey, the big Esso, made all petrol. They would send every week to the schools a movie. One movie was of India. And I remember all the bright colored turquoise and orange turbans on the elephants and the Mysore Palace with all lights. I always was attracted. So here I am in Calcutta. So Prabhupada spoke, we had kirtan, Jamuna led the kirtan. And my wife was there, Palika. Anyway, there we were. And there were lots of people. Prabhupada spoke in Bengali and then he switched to English because he said, my students don't know Bengali. So we're driving back, it's nighttime now. We're driving back to Albert Road. And I'm looking out the window and I can't believe that all these shops, like, not shops, just on the sidewalk. People buy, naked bulbs hanging, wires, and everyone's shopping. They're buying groceries, they're buying vegetables, they're buying fruit. And it's all taking place on the sidewalks everywhere. My eyes are fading. Prabhupada said, "So Bhavananda, do you like Calcutta?" I said, "I love it." He said, "Very good. You are now the president of Calcutta." Just like that. Then he said, don't take this the wrong way. But then he said, and he laughed. He said, Jaya Patak Maharaj is trying to kill the devotees. And he laughed. And I'll give you the background of that. With all these, apparently, with all the Tamal and all of them being there in the Calcutta temple, they were just there for this Pandal. Jayapataka Maharaj, he thought, not, or very understandably, that these are all Western devotees. So he went and bought like lettuce and tomatoes and made a big salad. Made a big salad, Westerners, they love salad, they love lettuce, tomatoes, and like that. But Tamal Krishna, he was so upset, he went to Prabhupada. He said, Prabhupada, Jayapataka is trying to kill us, he just served us lettuce and tomatoes, and we want, rice and sabji and chapatis. He's trying to kill us. So, that night, Jayapataka is trying to kill the devotees. And he laughed. What it really was, he wanted Jayapataka to go leave Calcutta, put me in charge of Calcutta, and Jayapataka would come here to Maya. Right? So he was relieving him and making a joke at the same time. To the new land. So suddenly I was the president of Calcutta. Now I will admit to you, without any qualms, I was the worst president of Calcutta Temple that they've ever had. Because I have always been practically incapable of collecting money. On Sankirtan, on Hollywood Boulevard, I could never sell very many Back to Godhead magazines or incense. And in New York, when I was president of New York, I'm just not a good collector. Something's amiss in my brain when it comes to collecting money. I can't do it. That's why, fortunately, that story I told you yesterday about it's flying through the air. But on 10 Prabhupada said it's easy, it's flying through the air. But if I put my hand up, nothing. Got air. That's all I do. But anyway, then so the Deshapriya Park Pandal finishes, and I'm starting to figure out this Albert Road, a part of, big, it's big. There's a temple room, the present temple room, but it's very plain. There's two Shringasans with Radha Govinda and Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra. That's in the big room. Then you go through that, from the veranda you go into the big temple room, and then you walk through there, and there's the kitchen. The kitchen was, I don't know if you've seen them, or if they still make them. The kitchen was a pail, a bucket, and they put clay around it. Is that right? Clay? Like that. And you put your coals or wood in there, and that's what you cook on. There's all smoke. When they're starting to, the whole temple room would fill with charcoal smoke or wood smoke. So it was kind of like something new to me and perplexing. But people cooked, that's how they cooked. But there was no kitchen with a big sink and refrigerators. No, that didn't exist. Refrigerator. Right? No, there's no such thing. And that was another room. The kitchen was in a corner, and then they used this other room. Well, I don't know what. And then there's the door, and in that door was the bathroom. And there was the bathroom was long and narrow, and there was a tub. Now, again, this is Calcutta, 1971. It's not that you go in and turn on a tap and water comes out. No, they didn't have hot and cold running water. What? They didn't have cold running water. They didn't even have tepid running water. You had to, you had to be alert that when the water did come on, which at a different time every day, you had to quick open up the taps on the big tub and fill the tub with water. That was your water. For a bath, for cooking, that's where you got your water. Sometimes, when you filled the tub, there would be little, like threads, little red thread worms. Like threads coming. It was bizarre. And if you went, there was a door at the other end, and you went through that door, there was a winding staircase that took you up to the roof of the building. And that's where we stayed. And there was a tap up there also. If you got water, you could take a bath there, if the water was running. And there was a little room, but you had to go through the bathroom. So it was chaotic. At the other end of the veranda was Prabhupada's room, which is a nice sized room. It's still there, of course, today. And off of that room was another bath. And we made sure that that was... But we generally took our baths in the pukur. The big water tile across the street. Very nice, big. It had a path around it with, little flower trees. It was nice. And we'd get up for Mangal Arti, go down there, put on our gumshoes and swim around. And during the day, we'd all... Jagataka Maharaj has always been a great swimmer, really good swimmer. He would swim across that pukur, and all the people would gather to just see him swim. There's a Prabhupada here in Mayapur. He was giving class one morning, and he was talking about women and intelligence. And he said, women are less intelligent. He said, however, he said, our ISKCON women, they are intelligent. He said, Jamuna, Kalika, Arundhati, they are very intelligent. He said, they can swim. And he said, and they can drive. He said, I cannot do that. So, our ISKCON women are very intelligent. So in this way, a few days went by, and then Prabhupada was going to a big pandal in Delhi, in Connaught Circus. So Prabhupada flew. We all took a train. I just left the Calcutta temple, you know, and went on the train. I wanted to go to this. I wanted to tour. You know, I wanted to see India. I wasn't thinking of my duty, my responsibilities. I'm the president of Calcutta. You have to pay the rent. You have to, you know, see the deities are taken care of. Like anywhere in the world, we have responsibilities. Anyway, we went to Delhi Pandal. That was a whole other story. And then Prabhupada sent Giriraj Achyutananda and I to Madras, Chennai. So we were the first ISKCON devotees to go there. I was a little upset because Prabhupada was taking all the devotees to Vrindavan. And they went to Barshana, but I missed out on that. But anyway, I'm in Madras, and after a few days I get a telegram from Prabhupada saying, go to Calcutta. And I kept putting it off. And I get another telegram from Prabhupada, go to Calcutta immediately. So I got on a train with the Chutamanda, we went up, I'm back in Calcutta. And things went on. We met, of course at that time, Prabhupada had started this life member program, which was 1,111 rupees. Right? For that, they give you that check for life members, and they get Prabhupada's books. Every book that's printed, as it's printed, they get a copy. And they can stay at any ISKCON center in the world, right? If they travel overseas. Of course, Indians didn't travel overseas so much at that time. It was very difficult to get out of India. But Prabhupada made, of course, we had no facility really. Indians started slowly showing up at New York Temple or LA, wanting to know where's their room, right? They're touring. But anyway, that's again another story. So I kind of, when I met different life members and would go with other devotees to make to their offices or people's homes to make life members. But as I said, I was not a good life member. I don't think I made one life member, but other devotees who were there, like Bhavavananda. He was a very good life member. Then, I don't think we paid the rent ever when I was there. But they couldn't evict you because the laws in India were such you can't evict someone. I just didn't pay the rent. And then I got this idea and I wrote to Prabhupada that we want to have a Rath Yatra. And Prabhupada wrote back, yes, make a Rath Yatra, and gave us the route from Albert Road down Kamak Street and then over to Chaurungi, down Chaurungi Avenue, the main center of Calcutta, to Mahatma Gandhi Road, left on Mahatma Gandhi Road to the Radha Govinda temple. A long route. So I got all this is something I could do, right? Make a festival, prepare things. But we needed a Rath. So we went down to North Calcutta to a temple called the Vaikuntanath temple. And that's mainly Marwadis, the very wealthy business class of Calcutta, who mostly were our life members. That was their temple, big temple. And they had not a Rath like we know with the canopy, the canopy and everything, but it was a silver thing and a big wheels that you pull. You remember that? You don't remember?
Yeah, they still use them.
Huh?
They still have them there in Calcutta.
Yeah, but I'm saying, do you remember that one? Were you at that first Radha Yatra?
No, I remember.
So we had the Radha Yatra, and it was not very many people, but as we were having kirtan, as we proceeded down Chaurangi, more and more people started coming. By the time we got to Mahatma Gandhi Road and made the left and stopped in front of the Mullik Palace, and all the Prabhupada's relatives, they all came out in all their finery, the men, the women, and dhotis over their arms, the men all, the women were all just, and they all did arti. By this time we had gathered quite a big crowd. And then we went down further and turned into the little front courtyard of the Radha Govinda temple. We had a program there for 5 days. Anyway, Prabhupada was in London, I think. And he was very happy, very, very happy that we had started the Rath Yatra. And fortunately, with Rath Yatra, they have all over India, you sell souvenirs. It's a magazine. You go to all your members into big companies, and they buy a full page, a half page, a quarter page, an eighth of a page. They pay you money, and you put their advertisement there. It's called a souvenir. So Madhavananda was really good at that. So suddenly money is coming in, right? That's about it. I really don't have, that was the main thing that I started the Rath Yatra. That's the only thing I can, I want to take credit for everything, but that's what we did. However, a few years later, I'm going to tell you a nice story. I was in Calcutta, Prabhupada was there, and we arranged a program where Prabhupada spoke, I think, 3 nights at the Radha Govinda temple on Mahatma Gandhi Road. And after each program, there were, I thought you were someone else, I'm sorry. There are these rooms, and Prabhupada was sitting in the room, and I was sitting here, Prabhupada was here, Rupanuga was visiting, he was over there, and all of Prabhupada's family came to see him. They all came in, very aristocratic, very aristocratic family, very wealthy. Of course, I told you about the deity, and there's, along with Radha Govinda, there's a solid gold Durga riding on a tiger, and she, because everything in the family was tied up in a trust, because everything is in the name of the deity. Land outside of Calcutta, land, so much land, growing rice for the deity, and it generates a lot of money. So each year, another member of the family was given charge of this golden Durga and tiger. and all of the assets, all of the income generated by the trust would go to that person for the year. So they were very well-to-do, even in that time when India was really, Indira Gandhi, it was like a semi-socialist, semi-communist kind of government. You couldn't import anything. You couldn't find, I tried to find light bulbs. You couldn't buy a lamp. There was no, furniture store. They didn't exist. Nothing could be imported. It was weird. Some of our devotees, were a little addicted still because they'd only been devotees for a year or 2 years to Coca-Cola. Right? It's hot. Coca is hot in the sun. You want a cold drink, a 7-Up, or you couldn't find. They didn't allow it. Right? You couldn't get nothing. It was very austere in terms like that. You couldn't go to the corner store and buy a light bulb or a loaf of bread, and like you do. I'm sure you do in Moscow. At least now, right? After Gorbachev. There were no supermarkets. You couldn't buy Lay's potato chips. It's just so the opposite of the West. It was just the opposite of the West. It was strange. But we loved it, didn't we? We loved it because it was an adventure. The thing is, with Prabhupada, everything was an adventure. He made everything exciting. So back to that story. So the men come in, the mullah men, Prabhupada's good boyhood friend. One mullah, I can't remember his first name, beautiful, Kurtan, and the classy Bengali men have these dhotis, and how they put them on, just twisty turns, and they end up with a long tail, but they carry it over their arm, and they, different colors, and then the women came in, all Prabhupada's relatives, and they're wearing jewels, jewels, thick silk, embroidered, gold embroidered saris, and paying their obeisances like this. Prabhupada was just talking to them all. And then, after they had left, Prabhupada looked at me and says, "Oh, Mama, what do you think?" I said, "Prabhupada, the women are very beautiful." He said, "Oh, yes." He said, "They have all the symptoms of beauty in a woman." I said, what are those? Prabhupada said, he went like this, he said, "Cat eyes." And he said, "A space between their front teeth." Of course, there's a very famous supermodel in the West. What's her name? Lauren. Something. She has a space.
Kate Moss,
Huh?
Kate Moss? Kate Moss?
Kate Moss has a space also, yes. You know Kate Moss. Yes. So that's symptoms of beauty in a woman, Prabhupada said. But don't go getting your... So I said, what are the symptoms of beauty in a man? He said, like you. reddish complexion. He said, which indicates a strong heart. You, he said, and Arjun. He said, actually, you are the most handsome man on the planet. And that has carried me through to my 84th year. I still think. Your teeth, can't see, can't hear, can hardly stand up. But he said that. And Rupa can affirm that. You. Like Arjuna. So that's about all I can say about Calcutta. You know, the lady downstairs was a very, you know, like a Britishy kind of Bengali, that whole society. She'd have, her friends would come by, they'd have cocktails, parties and things. She hated us and we couldn't tolerate her. There was always a battle going on between them. Of course now we own the whole building because Iskan in India is very wealthy. But then, on the other side was some company, and I don't know what was, I think 2 companies, one down. Oh, and one day Prabhupada was standing on the veranda and looking at the pukur. And he said, he told us, and he wrote in a letter also, I want the temple to be built in the middle of this pukur. That was his order. And he wrote it also to Adri Dharna when Adri was the president. Very nice devotee. Very dedicated to Prabhupada. He stayed in Calcutta. No one could last in Calcutta. He stayed, and that was one of his things. I'm going to build this temple in the middle of the pukur. Since Adri's departure, that idea has just. But that's what he wanted. Prabhupada wanted it, which means it was possible. We just haven't figured out how. And what else? Yes, there's a wooden Lord Chaitanya on the altar, Radha Govinda's altar. That was given to us in 1972, by our good friend, Taran Kanti Ghosh, who was a big politician. He was the federal home minister, he was the federal minister of tourism, he was a good friend of Indira Gandhi's, a famous Bengali family. They owned the newspaper, something Patrika, Amrita Bazar Patrika. They owned that. His father and Bhaktivinoda Thakur were friends, and he was a real character, and he loved the devotees. He was a fairly sophisticated guy, and he would visit, he would get a helicopter and come here and land in the back in a helicopter, which was, in those days, because, here in Mayapur, you never saw a plane. No plane ever flew. At Juhu, you got the planes taken. No planes, nothing. But suddenly, he came in, and he paid his dandavats, and then on his elbows, he pulled himself across the floor to Prabhupada, and pulled Prabhupada around, and put Prabhupada's feet on his head. And Prabhupada just laughed. And then they had it, he was a good thing now passed away. Taran Kanti Ghosh. So he gave a it's wooden, right? That murti? You know more, you know about it. Were you there?
Yes.
It's a wooden one. hands are off. And I thought it should be Gorn the time. No. The older brother never sees the face of the wife of the younger brother. So on Radha Krishna altar, you never have Nityananda. Only Lord Chaitanya. Because Nityananda cannot see Radharani. That's some cultural thing. It must have a very great purpose, which I don't know. So that's how that he gave that. And that's why we have Lord Chaitanya here with small Radha Govinda, right? When did we bring him?
73.
73. So the following year. Because he gave that in 72. Is that right?
It was going to be for Mayapur, the wooden one. The God wood.
Gaugamuni, no, I was there. I must have stolen it. Gaugamuni came in. After me was Madhavananda. I took sannyas in 73 January. So Madhavananda became the temple president. And then after him came Gaugamuni. Huh? And then after Gaugamuni came Purna Prabhu. And then Adri. And then, we can keep track. All right? So those are little stories. That's all I can tell you about Calcutta. I wish there were more, but there's some stories about Prabhupada, because Prabhupada in his room, it was a nice sized room, and he was very at home because of Calcutta. And different men and guests would come for darshan, and Prabhupada's sister, Bhishma, she would come and visit a lot. And wherever Bhishma, you always knew she was coming because suddenly you were all wet. And she had a bottle of Ganges, Ganga Jal. She'd always sprinkle it. Even in 1977, in Prabhupada's room, and he was bedridden, she would come in and she'd go up and she'd chant different mantras and make all these things, signs on his floor. Prabhupada would never say, just lie there. And she'd be chanting mantras and throwing water and doing, I don't know what she was, just different symbols on his forehead for his protection. Bhishma was very wonderful.
When she sat down, she's going to sit in the chair or on the bed. She would always.
With the water. Yeah. So it was the year of the Ratha Yatra in London. Was that 72 or 73? And Prabhupada was going. He was in Calcutta. I'm not sure it was 72, but it was around 72, 73. And Prabhupada got dysentery, which is interesting. Even India, if you get dysentery, don't worry. Even native Indians get dysentery. It's not. So I got the Kaviraj. Kaviraj came. He was an old friend of Prabhupada. Gave different powders, and you take this, take this. And he said, no oily food, nothing oily, nothing like that. You have to eat just simple. Well, if I was sitting there just listening and nodding his head. The Kaviraj left, and I'm still sitting there. Suddenly around the corner comes Pishima. And they talk in Bengali. He turns around and she walks out. Prabhupada's looking at her because she was pretty short, pretty hefty, old lady. She's so fat. Anyway, some time later, not more than 15 minutes, she comes back around and she's got this plate and it's filled with portal, the subject, portal subject, and puris, all cooked in mustard oil. And the part of the subject was swimming in oil, mustard oil. And I'm shocked. And she puts it in the problem. You shouldn't speak to your guru like this. Don't say, oh, Bhavananda spoke to Prabhupada. Don't blame me. But I said, you can't eat that. Imagine how offensive I was. He looked at me and he said, when I was a boy, when we had dysentery, this was my mother's cure. And he broke off a piece of it, dripping in mustard oil, picked up the point, and went to eat it. And I'm looking at him, and Prabhupada stops. And he said, don't look. I shut my eyes. Shut my eyes. Prabhupada ate. And the whole time I had my eyes shut. What's going to happen? So then Prabhupada took rest for a little while, and I went out and was doing whatever I was doing. Later I get a call. Prabhupada wants to see me. I went in. Prabhupada said, just now I passed urine without passing stool. He said, I am cured. He said, my mother was right. My mother was right. And that night, he left for London to go to the Trafalgar Square Rath Yatra. Pishima and Prabhupada. You have anything to add? Come on. Huh?
Yeah. Actually, Bhavananda said that Prabhupada's coming, Calcutta, so he was offering Guru Puja to Prabhupada when he comes. So
I said?
Yeah.
I said you should. And
when he was leaving in Calcutta,
I know, it's hard, but try and get through this. I won't ask anything of you again. It's been just this story.
anyway, you told me to come and do Aarti for Prabhupada. He gave me the first direct service from him. And then when I left, or we left, there was one boy he's doing the puja visit, he's going to Calcutta for a day, for a couple of days. And then we got a message back that other pushari is just sitting down on the floor, he's crying, and the deed is half undressed. He said he doesn't know what to do, he's sitting here crying, so he said, go back to Mayapur quickly.
Oh, who did we leave?
He was American devotee, I don't remember his name.
Those Americans are all useless.
He said, go back, go and see Prabhupada. Say to him, my name is Shanani Rastas, and I'm going back to my home. So, Cain gave that service. And then when Prabhupada came, I actually had to do the arti. He pulled me all the way to my house. So that was one realization at that time. So it's very, very close to Prabhupada. His quality is unaffected by anything that's going on. Completely composed.
It's always composed.
And I was thinking if the ceiling fell in now, Prabhupada will be disturbed. If the ceiling fell down, Prabhupada will be completely undisturbed. Those person that you gave me those opportunities.
Talking about composure in this Vyasa, See, in June of 73, Prabhupada came. He was here for Purnima and he came back in June. He wanted to, there's still, the building was here, we were living here, but anyway, the day after he arrived, everything went very still, and very hot, very humid, and just still, not a breath of air. And we all started getting these itches. Even Prabhupada, like a rat, it was just so hot and no air. So we foolishly listened to Achyutananda. He said, oh, you take rock salt, big hunks of rock salt, you put it in, wet it, and you rub yourself with the rock salt. That'll cure the itches. So we're all up on the roof. Him, I don't know, were you there? Jai Pataka Maharaj, but Prabhupada also had the itches. So we're all and I come into Prabhupada's room and he's just sitting there. And he's completely saffron. Not saffron, his skin, everything. Saffron. I made my medicine for the itches. Turmeric, sandalwood oil. We rubbed it all over his body. And it cured his. Where, red, raging, rashes, and everything he touched turned saffron. And he was just sitting there, it was like a whole glow. He was glowing, his face, his arms, everything was turmeric and sandalwood. It smelled wonderful. He was a great believer in turmeric as an anti-inflammatory. Now, of course, in the Western medicine, they're all now. Oh yeah, the anti-inflammatory qualities of turmeric. They sell it. They sell it. Vitamins you can take, all turmeric. In 1977. When you massage Prabhupada, you massage his body with mustard oil, but his head, you put a little bit of sandalwood oil, and you massage his head with sandalwood oil. Prabhupada, he always said, do things with warm feet and a cool head, right? So sandalwood is cooling. So, but this time I poured a little too much sandalwood oil. It went down into his eye and caused his eye to inflame. I felt terrible, right? His eye got all swollen. So later, after I bathed him and everything, I went into his darshan room, and he had a patch. He had tied a thing around his head, and he had a patch of cloth that went up, and he had them soak it in fresh ground turmeric, and by the time he took the patch off, a few hours later, the whole inflamed eye was gone. So we forget that Prabhupada was a chemist. He knew all about Western medicine. He knew everything. All right. What else? That's all I can tell you about Calcutta. Am I missing anything you can say?
Yeah. This is free of Paul's Panther program.
Yeah.
I was there, I had to, my service was to decorate the deities, small Radhamada over there, and Banu Maharaj was the Pujari.
Who?
Banu Shani.
Banu, yes.
Pujari, and I was singing, collecting flowers and leaves from the park there, decorate the Prabhupada's Vyasashan, who's going to come and speak in the evening. So I thought, Prabhupada's self-realized soul. So, and I was decorating the steps with marigold garlands, like two rows of marigolds, and inside was all flower petals, but it's like a carpet going up to the Vyasa and up to the steps where he would sit. And I thought, Prabhupada's, he's a self-realized soul, so I put the symbol of self-realization, which is that inverted triangle that we use for Jewish, double triangle, the Jewish sign.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a symbol of self-realization
Yeah,
in the West.
Yeah.
The Jewish star.
Star of David. So I put it at the bottom, right at the bottom of the stairs. That sign in flowers. And then Prabhupada came to attend the program, and we're going to pay these deities to Radha Madhava, and then he turned around and he went back to sit on and the Vyasasana. So he walked up to the Vyasasana. So yeah, Vyasasana was there. At the bottom there was the sign of self-realization. I talked about that time. And then Prabhupada came up. Then he stopped at the bottom of the steps. He looked down. Very wonderful insight. Next foot inside. That was the first time I'd seen Prabhupada chanting Jai Radha Madhava.
Oh.
That was the first time. But I thought, come up onto the stage, Shri Prabhupada, and he got his kartal, he started playing. I said, no, Prabhupada doesn't play instruments and dance. We do that, we're like little kiddies. Prabhupada's so grave, you know. They always had a charity. So grave. He doesn't dance and sing like us. It's for his kids. So you will always get different Prabhupada different assets or aspects of you didn't realize before that such something will come up. So yeah, that was my first realization. And
These are the deities that he chanted Jairadha Madhava with. He traveled with them. Prabhupada is a master musician. Why didn't you know that? Master musician. There's that album with the sarod. What's his name? Ali Khan's. You know the album? 1969, Prabhupada's prayers to the six Goswamis, with the sarod playing in the, which I always loved, but Prabhupada did not like that instrument. Because Prabhupada recorded that a cappella, without any instrument, nothing, perfect pitch, and then Dinanath, Dineshwar, anyway, in 1969, he added that. Ali Akbar Khan, the famous friend of Ravi Shankar. No, Ali Akbar Khan, he was playing the sarod on that tape, on that album. You know the album?
Знаете альбом, да?
I always liked it, but Prabhupada didn't. But that Ali Akbar Khan told this devotee, this man has perfect pitch. He said it was so easy to accompany him from the tape because he has perfect pitch. So he's a master musician. Am I supposed to tell more stories? I'm supposed to see Jai Pataka. I'm waiting for us.
no, that's a prayer story.
Oh yeah, tell me.
So initiated right at that time.
Huh?
Initiated right at that time. Oh, that's right. We went to meet Prabhupada at the airport. This was the first time I'd seen Shri Prabhupada. So we were all there at the airport, Calcutta airport.
Dum Dum,
Dum Dum.
the old one,
Yeah.
which is a little colonial British theater with the wooden benches.
And so we were doing kirtan there, we were with Bhajananda Swami, leading, and Prabhupada suddenly just appeared. It was like a little genie singing out. And he just came, sort of coming off the airplane. Prabhupada came, but we didn't see him till he was right there. And Bhajananda was surprised. He Prabhupada! He popped up. And so then Prabhupada stopped. All of the disciples there. They looked at the new bhakta. That's the new bhakta. He looked at me and it's one of those, Prabhupada looked right through you. He looks at you, not what we think we are. Prabhupada's looking to say, I come for you, I come to get you, not what you think you are. And they said, you take this bowl of flowers, rose petals, throw them when Prabhupada comes. And everybody would come and give garlands. So everybody was coming up and giving garlands. And I came up with Prabhupada, gave garland. A small bowl, brass bowl. And as I put the garland on Prabhupada's head, I still had the bowl in my hand. And it struck Prabhupada. It was lightly, I just was going like that. It made a ping sound. And the Prabhupada was there, I was there. And his eyes didn't move.
What?
His eyes, they didn't move. When someone comes close to you, generally there's a reaction. Especially if they touch, especially around the eye. But he didn't move. He didn't even blink. No, but I expect Prabhupada to really use really undisturbed.
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 Despite you. Hitting in the bowl.
Then everybody left.
Huh?
Everybody left. I was playing my bass. I got up. And looked no devotees running away. They all got in the car and shut off. I was at the airport with Jadubar and King. Jadubar's by Jadubar, the cameraman. Shut. Everybody jumped in the car with Prabhupada. We were standing at the airport. So, anyway, somehow or another, when we got back to the Calcutta temple, then Prabhupada started his class.
What?
He started to speak. He's giving a class. Well, I don't know. Anyway, he was, and I thought, well, now I can hear him. I've met many so-called saints, but he's the best so far. Now I can hear him personally speak. So I was all ears and listening to Prabhupada's lecture. And then he said, so you do not try to see Krishna. Nothing. I thought that we were supposed to be doing. We were supposed to be doing. We were searching for Krishna, we're seekers. And here we're going to meet this greatest saint. And he's saying, do not try to see God. So then he clarified it up. He said, to act in such a way that God can see.
Going back to Dum Dum Airport, maybe it was that year or the following year, we were there at the airport. Prabhupada was leaving. So they had these long wooden benches, with backs. And Prabhupada was sitting there, I was sitting next to him. And there were people, who were going on the plane, they had walking back and forth. Prabhupada was looking at them. Then he looked at me and he said, from my angle of vision, these are all walking dead bodies. He said, what do you call them? I said, zombies, probably. He said, yes, zombies. Yes, zombies. And at that time, you could walk out the door and just walk out to the plane and go up the stairs. Remember? There was no security. Yeah. More Calcutta stories.
Tamil
Huh?
Krishna Maharaj, he made a petition on the veranda for his office and Prabhupada.
He made a partition.
And
And
he used it as his office. Prabhupada was at the end of the veranda. And then
that's when the partition, anyway.
on the veranda then.
Yeah.
Anyway,
At the other end.
he put a screen up there.
Yes.
And then, what is this? Having making your own office.
You like?
You had to take it down.
Yes. I remember that. One night on that veranda, I was sleeping on the, on those mat like that. We always slept on that. I didn't sleep in the temple room because the cement floor had little cracks, and if you slept over a crack, it had full of bed bugs. You wake up with all these welts. So I slept out on the veranda. And I'm sleeping and I hear this like ringing sound, like a chime. And I wake up and it's probably what I came on because he was chewing on, not chewing, but he had sugar candy. You know sugar candy? With the string. He had it in his mouth and it was hitting his teeth and it was like a ringing chime. Anyway, he said, who that? I said, it's Bhavana. I said, oh, Bhavana, come chant with me. So we're walking. He said, you American boys and girls, he said, you're just sleeping on the floor like that. He said, it's so difficult it must be for you. He was very appreciative of no one ever complained. No one ever complained. Did you ever complain? No, I never. Well, maybe I complained. But not the problem. Not the problem. Yeah. Sitting right here one night, he was talking to me about how austere it is here in Mayapur. He said, I appreciate all you boys and girls. He said, I cannot even provide you enough so that you can have milk. He was sitting right there. And he started crying. Because he couldn't provide us with enough so we could have milk. So he appreciated it.